Hey guys, it's Brandy with Brandy Burrow Astrology, back with Ellie Adams from Saturn Season Astrology and YouTube channel Let's F with Astrology. All right, thanks for coming back, Ellie.
Thanks for having me.
All right, this is like, I don't know, I want to say a good one. They're all good ones, all the cases we do, but this is one I've been wanting to do for so long. Bobby Fuller from the Bobby Fuller 4. Very mysterious death. And so like I remember the first time we sat and did a forensic astrology video, I was like, Ellie, can we come back and do the Bobby Fuller death?
You did. Yeah, well, it's so fucking weird. Like the whole thing is so fucking weird.
Very weird. And it's almost like, I mean, I'm having a hard time getting my words out, even like starting the show, because it's like I feel so emotionally attached to this one because I grew up listening to Bobby Fuller. He's one of my favorite, artists and fellow Texas musician here. And I don't know, it's just, this is such a good one, and it goes in so many directions. Bobby Fuller, musician from Texas, his band Bobby Fuller 4 had the hit with I Fought the Law. I mean, just had a hit when he died, when he was killed. And there's so many theories to how he died and what happened, and died very mysteriously. Like, should we just dive into all the theories? I mean, there's
we can.
The first, he was originally, his death was ruled as a suicide. And then it was changed to an accident on the death certificate.
And then it had little question. Didn't it have both also with like question marks or something? Yeah.
I have the autopsy report.
Okay.
Yes. So I know this is
how come prepared.
How much I've researched this. I ordered his autopsy report, came with his death certificate, read his brother's book, online research. But yes, so the coroner medical examiner put accident, suicide with question marks by each one. Now, I guess I'll go into how he was found. So he dies July 18th, 1966. Last time he is seen is 3 a.m. leaving his apartment. His mother was staying with him at the time visiting. His mother's car is gone when he leaves, so he's gone. Mom's car is gone. He's later found around 5:15 p.m. dead in that car in the parking lot of the apartment complex. And so when he is found, witnesses describe the condition of his body, things they noticed about him. A lot of that left out of the autopsy.
Yeah. The things that
Yes. So you have to read this. There's some things you can take from it, and you have to keep in mind there's some things that don't match up with witness statements. So, and that kind of is like the gist of this whole mystery, the way it was handled, the investigation. There's just a lack of legal investigation, really. The cops show up, they immediately start throwing away evidence from the car, just throwing it away in the dumpster, not fingerprinting. They immediately ruled it a suicide. And so,
well, yeah, and the suicide thing already, I mean, reading about it, his mom was like there waiting for her car and her son to get back and was checking constantly out the window. And finally, in some 30-minute period, I guess, where she looked and then didn't look again for 30 minutes or whatever, the car is outside and he is inside of it. But he's already, not to get too graphic, but he's already like decomposing.
state of rigor mortis.
Yeah. So this is already, and they rule it a suicide. Like the car just shows up.
That he like drives the car back.
Yeah, and he's up, but dies. Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. If his body was if rigor mortis had already started setting in, if the body was already decomposing, it's not like he just died right then. So the suicide thing literally makes no sense. Like absolutely makes no sense.
And the police said, kind of gaslighted the family. The mom said, no, the car must have just been here and you just didn't see it. The mom reportedly, her name is Eva Fuller, by the way, reportedly was in hysterics all day long. So this family has dealt with tragedy. The mom lost a child a few years back. So it was kind of a blended family. The mom and dad had children from previous marriages, got together, had Bobby and Randy together. But The children from previous marriages, the dad lost a son, the mom lost a son, like they had dealt with tragedy. And every time this mom had psychic premonitions or knew something was wrong. And so on this day, she was in hysterics because she knew something was wrong. She felt it. She had, I mean, I guess it was like a psychic sense.
Yeah. And that makes sense, because as I was reading about this, you know, it seemed like, I mean, I don't have a son that age, but I do have a son. I kind of imagine if he was like out with my car, I wouldn't, the way that it was kind of written about how she was, it seemed very like frantic. Yeah. And under normal circumstances, I don't think somebody would be that frantic. It's not like he had been gone that long, right? You know what, in the big scheme of things. But if she was having like premonitions about things, knowing, you know, like a knowing, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and if you're that upset, that desperate and urgent to, where's my son? Something's wrong. You would see that car in the parking lot. She would not have missed it. So that, yeah, that doesn't make sense. He's found in the car in advanced stages of decomp. It was summer, you know, the windows are rolled up. There's a can of gasoline in the car. Car keys were not in the ignition. He's found with his face down in the seat. Like nothing makes sense that he was there and just died. And, you know, so that's the beginning of it. So cops show up, throw away evidence, rule it a suicide. So with all these theories, there's so many people that, you know, that family wonders, you know, were these people involved? So Bobby Fuller, part of Delphi Records on the Mustang label, ran by Bob Keane, who also was the record label for Richie Valens. And so Bob Keane was in massive debt with this label. Not to make this a huge, long thing, but Chicago Mafia was involved with these labels in LA. And so there were some mafia ties. There was some money owed. So there's a theory. Did Bob Keane have him killed? Bob Keane did cash in a huge life insurance policy on Bobby Fuller. And when it was rolled as suicide, he couldn't get this life insurance policy cashed. So he had to have private investigators talk to the chief medical examiner, and had it changed to an accident. So there's that theory. I think one band member thought maybe Charles Manson was involved.
Yeah, I read about that.
Charles Manson was in jail at the time, or in prison, so that's kind
of. But I
can
see why he would bring that up with Manson's music.
Yeah,
shit. So
Manson was all in the LA area. That was going on at the time. Yeah. There's Morris Levy of Roulette Records,
the godfather of American music.
Yeah. And so all these theories, I want to go to the charts and see kind of what the astrology points at.
Yes, please do.
Okay. Let's do it. Let's see the last time he is seen. Okay, so last time he is seen is at 3 a.m. He was drinking with his landlord, who was also a friend, at these apartments. Seems to be a credible source. I've never read anything where this guy wouldn't be credible. You know, everyone seemed to know they were friends. And so here we go. Here's the chart. So Bobby Fuller, the victim here, is going to be ruled by Mercury, because we have a Gemini ascendant, and Mercury retrograde in the third house.
Yeah, another one of those Mercury retrograde cases where shit's just never really known. You know, it does
drive me nuts. Yeah. So retrograde planet rolling the chart. Frustrating.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. Third house. He's going to be found in a car later, and you know, third house is where we find, well, it's travel. It's like transportation locally. Cars can also be found in second house, but it's a very third house thing for me.
It is. And then well, okay, you also mentioned something before, not on the video, but with me before this, about him possibly getting a call.
Yes. So there's a theory, because he was found wearing slippers. Okay, someone who leaves the house in slippers probably doesn't plan on being gone very long, or I'm making a quick trip, because you're wearing house slippers. there's a theory that once he got back to the apartment from drinking with his friend, that maybe someone called him up and said, hey, I need help, or I'm out of gas. Can you bring me some gas? Or something like this going on. So yeah, there was supposedly a phone call.
Which is very third house here too, with the communication.
Yeah, that makes me think I'm with that theory. Someone called and lured him out.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. And then, I mean, the first thing that my eye goes to is Mars in the first, and that Pluto Uranus fuck fest in the fourth. You know, I mean, they're like so close to each other, like so close.
Yeah. Right there.
It feels like when I see that, like, because it's in the first, like Mars in the first, in his first, so it has to do with him. And also Mars is the traditional ruler of the sixth house being work and things like that, you know, can deal with work and shit. It seems to me like he probably wasn't real, like it seems like he might have been kind of amped up about work.
Yeah.
Or irritated about, you know what I mean? Like there's an aggressive feeling here, and it's kind of like, it feels like it could be work related.
He was, and this was very fresh because, again, he was with Bob Keane's label, and he didn't want to be with that label anymore. And so, I'm about to sneeze, by the way. I'm sorry, guys. So, yes. And so, you know, they were slated to go on a UK tour, and I think Bob Keane had pulled them out of it. He felt like he didn't have a lot of creative control. Bob Keane was pulling other musicians in to record on the albums when they weren't there. He felt very restricted. He wanted out of this contract. And so there was a lot of stress about business and work and the day-to-day dealings with that.
Yeah, it feels like, it feels like that shit was involved with his, it just feels involved.
Intertwined. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, so, and this leads to some of the theories of who's behind this, what's going on. The whole Morris Levy theory.
Yeah.
This is a whole other thing. So, and if I have like music experts watching this, forgive me, because I'm just kind of going from what I've read. Back in the 60s, you know, this was a West Coast band. So Bobby Fuller from El Paso, but they're in California, LA recording. So they're a West Coast band. They had issued a single, Let Her Dance. It wasn't really charting like it should have because it was a great song. And it wasn't getting any success. So Bobby had shopped this single with another independent distributor on the East Coast, Roulette Records, and supposedly made a deal with Morris Levy to have this single released on Roulette, and then backed out. And you don't back out on deals with Morris Levy, apparently.
Okay.
Now there's other, you can look this up online. Tommy James from Tommy James and Shondells wrote in his book. His band, you'll know him from Crimson and Clover.
Oh yeah.
They were on this label, and Tommy James even says he had seen Morris Levy leave with a coworker with baseball bats, and that they were very out in the open, that anyone that messed with them, they just lived to tell the story.
Well, he also had some very, very, very direct mob ties.
Very direct, yes.
With like multiple families.
Yes.
From what from the little bit that I read, I was like, oh damn, he was connected. Like, yeah.
They claim, you know, the Roulette Records, Morris Levy, he claimed like there was never a deal made, never discussed, but there was a worker there, him and his son was the one talking in this book written by Bobby Fuller's brother. They interview him, and he says that he personally saw a promotional single of Let Her Dance on the Roulette Records label, And there is 2 missing numbers from the discography at that time where singles were never released. So there is some witnesses saying, yeah, there was a deal and we actually saw the record in production.
Yeah.
So I think this could be very much a Pluto Mars business dealing as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could. Yeah. Yeah, I could too.
And Mars and Cancer in a fall.
Yeah, it doesn't feel. Yeah, like it. I don't want to.
It feels emotional. Like, I mean, yeah, Mars is not Mars. Cancer is emotional, but it feels like I'm mad because you slighted me.
Yes, it's personal. It, more personal. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then it's a kind of side note, but you got this new moon kind of separating from a new moon going on in the 2nd house of money.
Yes, and the ruler of the descendant is also not necessarily, but it's in that house. It's Jupiter's in that house.
It's visiting.
It's visiting, yeah.
Visiting. Yeah, and I would think of a new moon as like a new deal. Something new, something beginning. And now we have the separation in this chart.
Yes. Yeah. The kind of like the seeds have been put down and now it's,
Yeah.
What about, let me see. Was there anything? Oh, the fixed stars.
The fixed stars. Yeah, and let's look at that. While you're doing that, I'll also say, anytime we're looking at a crime chart and we have this ascendant in a double-bodied sign like Gemini, it always makes me think, who else has been killed by these people? Normally, multiple deaths. Maybe not so much with Bobby Fuller, but it just feels like there's multiple victims, maybe from the same perpetrators.
Yes. Yes. You can also see that with like Libra. Sometimes you'll see like multiple Libra ascendants, multiple victims.
Right.
Even Pisces sometimes.
Yeah. Double body. And that descendant being Sagittarius, it makes me feel like, okay, this is someone who does not live in LA, or who at least is behind it. Does not live in LA.
Somebody larger than life.
Which for me, I mean, Bob Keane is a character, and I know he's responsible for some great music, but like, he's not necessarily on the up and up always, but he's an LA person, or was around this area. For me, I don't know if that points towards him.
Yeah, because I see what you're saying about it. Yeah, somebody not local.
Yeah. And I normally wouldn't be this outspoken, but like, this is an old case, almost 60 years old, and a lot of people are deceased. So I'm being a little bit more loose with my words about this one.
Yeah. Well, and these theories, they're all out for, anybody to find too.
They're in a book.
And they're in a book.
Yeah. Yeah. So back to the fixed star.
Okay. So at 15, the ascendant at 1508 Gemini. Okay, so we have a fixed star there at 1517 Gemini. Currents of fate, fluctuating emotions, irreversible changes to the rhythm of life, sense of oblivion. Which is kind of weird. The fluctuating emotions part with Mars in that like emotional ass Cancer. I don't know. It feels, I don't know. Yeah, that kind of stands out to me. And then we have 10 degrees. The ruler of Mercury is not the ruler of Mercury. Ruler of Gemini is Mercury. We're looking at that as the chart ruler, as Bobby Fuller. So we've got it at 1054, and there was one at 10. Yeah, there's one at 1020 Leo. penetrating and analytical mind, travel and many friends, craft, ingenuity, and valor, but danger of robbery and accidental poisoning.
Accidental poisoning, which is on the autopsy as of October 17th, when they went back and changed it from suicide, is the cause they put on there. Now,
that's interesting. That's very interesting.
That's crazy. Now, I don't think, my opinion here, because this fixed star says accidental poisoning, I don't believe that is the cause, but I believe it's the blame. And I think that's the point of the fixed star.
Yeah. I agree.
On Mercury, which would be a car, and accidental poisoning.
And the third house.
The third house. And this is the last scene. So this is kind of like, this is describing, hey, here's how it's going to go down. Here's how it's going to be found. Here's how it looks.
Telling the story.
Telling the story.
Now, there wasn't one at, not close enough anyway, to 1508 Sagittarius, but I didn't look at Jupiter.
We should look.
1559, right? Cancer.
Right. And while you're doing that, I'll say the moon would also co-rule Bobby, and that kind of goes back to us saying, hey, new moon separating. I think it's separating from a deal with a powerful person, the sun.
Okay, so there is one at 1451 Cancer.
Okay.
Which would be within a minute. Or not a minute, a degree.
I knew what you meant though, because I was like, yeah, I'm with you.
It deals with voyages, journeys, creativity, scandal, violence, great glory, fame, wealth, changes of evil to good. That was worded kind of strange. And then the star of Saint Catherine, the Rishi. It's fortunate for Saturn and Jupiter. So it's fortunate for the planet that happens to be there. And Jupiter is also exalted in Cancer.
Yep.
Too. So could that be pointing to like,
if it's fortunate for the perpetrator, it makes me think it's fortunate for them getting away with it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So looking at this chart, this says nothing about suicide to me. You got the planets ruling Bobby in the third house of short travels, conversations, communication. You got the co-ruler, the moon, being in second house, which you see second house activity when there's abductions.
Yeah. So somebody could have been like, here, kitty, here,
come help me. There was another theory because he was dating the girlfriend of a nightclub owner, and the nightclub owner did have like direct mob ties, or maybe was part of it. I'm not sure, but I'm not seeing anything like, I would think if this was like, hey, you're with my girlfriend and that made me mad and I'm going to kill you. I don't know. I think I would see more Libra, more Venus. Venus is in the first house, but
this feels more like work.
Feels like work and power.
Yeah, to me it does. Though that's not a bad theory. I could certainly see how that.
Yeah, you don't mess with a mobster's girlfriend, but
yeah.
And then there's this other thing, this 10th house, being kind of publicly how this is handled, how the police handle it. Just kind of another clue here. 10th house ruled by a Saturn in the 29th degree in the 11th house as well. So some 11th house activity, groups, organizations.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't know. From this chart, I don't see suicide.
No, I don't either.
I don't see accident, but I can see how it's being set up to look like an accident with the whole Mars and Uranus.
But I can too. But I mean, like, even just taking the astrology out of it. I mean, the car isn't there. The car shows up. He's already decomposing. And I'm thinking to myself, how the fuck was this ever ruled? The way, I mean, like how? What?
So let's kind of talk about what was going on with the police at that time. The police chief, William Parker, died of a heart attack 2 days before Bobby Fuller is found dead. So I think this was a Monday, but would have been on a Saturday. And he was a longtime police chief. And so I believe this day and at this time, I believe there was a viewing happening. And so most of the police officers were working the viewing, were there attending the viewing. And so there was sort of a skeleton crew working this case. Also, and I'm going from memory here, I didn't have time to get my facts exactly, but I know the chief medical examiner who did this was like 20, I think he's like 24. And he was not the usual one in charge. I think he was just kind of put in there to fill in, and I don't know where the other guy was, but we're not, we didn't have like the regular. And the family in this book, Bobby Fuller's dad and uncle, did go to the police afterwards and said, hey, this is a homicide. This isn't suicide. You need to look at this. And they were told if they knew what was good for them, they would shut up and go back to Texas.
Ah, okay. All right.
Yeah. So not the normal investigation process. The police was very distracted. And from what it sounds like, they were kind of playing this one safe too, and not investigating it too much. I think they kind of knew what this was or what kind of murder this looked like. And
well, that's yeah, okay. So like with the modern ruler of that midheaven, you're honest, right? Up Pluto's ass. There is kind of, yeah.
And this was typical in the 60s.
Yeah.
LAPD did work with the mob, and they were they didn't step on each other's toes, right? And Sam Cooke's death was like this. We kind of mentioned this with Marilyn Monroe, like just certain things were handled a certain way and not questioned.
Yeah, it was just kind of, things were not questioned. It doesn't, and if they were, you were told to go back to Texas and things like that. Yeah.
Right. And the only reason this got changed from a suicide to accident was Bob Keene had his private investigators, go back. And so this was 3 months later changed to an accident. Life insurance policies were able to be cashed at that point. I don't know if this is true, but I did read somewhere that when a death got ruled an accident, that it really limited how much they could go back and reinvestigate as a homicide. I don't know. I just read this somewhere where it kind of made it harder to open it back up, but I don't know if that's true.
Right. Okay, but I'm not sure if it is or not, but I could see how that might be possible, and that might be why if that is the case, should that be the case, why they might want to have ruled it that way.
Yeah. And in this autopsy, of course, you have to, there are things in here that witnesses saw, like witnesses say his finger was bent up and back, like it had been broken. This says there was no harm to the hands. So I don't know, but this does say in the report that there was no damage to the esophagus or stomach. And I would think I'm not a medical examiner, but inhaling gasoline, I would think that would burn some shit. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. No, I would think, I mean, I'm not a medical examiner either, but I would think that there would be some kind, especially with it being so recent, there would be something irritated.
There's no gasoline in the stomach. Now, they do say that the organs smell heavily like gasoline, but he's locked in a car with these vapors. So
yeah,
that makes sense. But do we want to go to when he's found?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so this is a time when he is found in the car, 5:15. He's found dead, obviously. As we've said, the body's in decomp and rigor mortis, like he's been dead for a while. And so, yeah, kind of the ascendant and descendant flip-flop here. We got a Sagittarius rising here.
Yes.
We now have Mercury in the 8th house of death. So Bobby's ruler from the previous chart is right there with the moon in the 8th house of death.
Yes. And you also have the ruler of the descendant, right, is also in this is Mercury. So Mercury in the 8th here, like this speaks like to me, like this the perpetrator here, not a good person, probably kind of a scary person, maybe. Yeah.
If we're going by that ruler of the perpetrator from the previous chart, Jupiter in Cancer, yeah, this would be a larger than life person, probably big in stature, like, you know, someone you don't mess with. Either way, yeah, not.
Yeah. There's also this, and I know I mentioned this to you earlier, but I'm wondering if anybody, some dogs just started freaking out over there. Not my dogs. I don't know what the hell they're doing. That Jupiter is like almost into the 8th house. Almost.
It's like right there on the cusp. Yep.
And since that was like the ruler of the perpetrator in the other chart, there is this part of me that wonders if anybody tied to this in any way also died shortly after this. And I don't know the answer to that, but I don't know. There's something about it that makes, I don't know if this could have been like a hitman or something. I don't know if somebody else perhaps connected to this died shortly.
It's probably a hitman. I mean, if this is a mob death, you can probably tell that's the direction I'm going. It would have been a hit. It wouldn't have been Morris Levy himself, Bob Keane himself, or any of these people. It would have been hired or someone who works in the organization who takes care of these things. But yeah, being so close to the 8th, yeah, good point. Did they end up dead afterwards or soon? Of course, but like soon afterwards.
Yeah, that's just kind of like looking at these. I'm like thinking to myself, I wonder. And like I said, I don't know the answer to that question, but it would be curious to go through, like, I don't know, their associates that they had and see if any of them ended up dead. I don't know, maybe within a year or less of this. I don't know. I don't know. It was a thought that came to mind.
It's a good point. It's a good thing. Maybe a good direction to go with it. Yeah. To get the answers there. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just think, you know, this chart's just a literal representation of, okay, he's found. Rulers are now in the death house. You know, the retrograde Mercury, not a good testimony that the truth will ever be out there, but.
What do you make of the 3 planets in the 7th?
Yeah, on the death chart, you got 3 planets. I don't know how far I want to go with this. I don't know. I'm
curious if your mind is going maybe where mine is.
Well, I think it can represent all the confusion. Okay, there's this theory, this theory. Seeing in a chart like this, so the 7th house would be like the perpetrator or parties responsible. You got something like Venus that represents money. It's also a very beneficial planet. So is Jupiter. You got the 2 benefics on the perpetrator side. I just think this gives a little bit of motive here. Money. Where do you go with this?
I was thinking perhaps people.
3 people. And you got Mars there, sandwiched in between benefics. It just shows someone's safe, like someone safe being helped as far as like perpetrator goes.
Because he's got those 2.
Yeah, could be 3 individuals for sure. I doubt this was a 1-person job.
No, could, yeah, no, I don't think so.
I wish we could go back, and I wish those cops, one, would have fingerprinted the gas can. They threw it away. No fingerprints were taken, like someone had to drive that car.
If they were to be people or whatever, if they were, you've got the ruler of the 10th, right, Venus, which could, I don't know, law enforcement or specific, like helping, being a help there in some way.
Yep, covering it up. Not questioning, not investigating.
Yeah.
Yeah. From what I understand, reading and researching, the family, the mom, I believe she died in the 90s. I can't remember, but she spent the rest of her life trying to fight this, trying to get investigations reopened, trying to get them exhumed, trying to, and never could.
I don't blame her though, man. I'd be doing the same fucking shit. Cause like that's some bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, I don't blame her. But that's, I mean, it's very, very tragic though. I mean, anybody that has to be in that position.
Yeah. So, being that this could roll the police here, Venus in this chart. Yeah. I don't think the police, I don't know how much I want to say. I just don't think they had any interest in having this open. They wanted to keep it where it was at. And I think they were doing it to help out certain organizations. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Very sad. Bobby Fuller, very well liked by everybody that met him. Great musician, very talented, just had a hit, getting ready probably to be a bigger musician than he was. And, this happens. And so, out of all the theories, suicide, accident, homicide, I see nothing suicidal. I don't see anything accidental here. Astrology and non-astrology.
No, this seems, no. This wasn't this is intentional. And not him intentional. This is intentional on somebody else's behalf.
Yeah. And, Venus rules music, Venus being in that 7th house, I think is another clue. This is like maybe with the music industry. That's where I'm going with it.
Yeah. I and even in this chart, like we have Venus on the, or not Venus, Taurus on the cusp of the 6th house, right? Tending to or flowing into Venus there in the 7th. So it's like, this could also be a work. Could also tie into a work thing here too, from that angle as well.
Yep. So there you have it. That's the forensic astrology of Bobby Fuller. Would you guys like to, I'm going to show you this just because Bobby Fuller is buried in LA, Hollywood Hills, Forest Lawn. Kind of a funny story. It's a huge cemetery. This is a cemetery where Ricky Nelson's buried, Liberace, Andy Gibb, Carrie Fisher, so many celebrities. I mean, like tons of celebrities. And I went there looking for his grave, and like it was 100-degree day. It was during a heat wave last September in LA, and couldn't find it. Had to ditch efforts because like I was about to die, and so I was like, not leaving the cemetery if I stay here. And so went back again in November and was able to locate his grave. And so just kind of a neat moment to get to pay respects to him. I've always just adored his music, and his death has always bothered me the way it, it's been labeled. And but anyway, kind of neat to go see and pay my respects.
I love that you shared that. It's a good picture.
Thank you. It was a quick picture. My husband's like, come on, my husband, he doesn't understand my obsession with cemeteries, but he's like, come on, let's get out of here.
Well, I love that you were able to find it. And yeah,
it was a cool story because it was this huge section. And of course, I don't know how to find graves by the number. You can look up like find the grave and it gives you like the lot number, and like I don't know how this works. So I'm like trying to just look at every grave and find this, and I can't. And all of a sudden, the cemetery worker, like appears out of nowhere. And he comes and talks to me. He's like, how's it going? Can I help you? And I'm like, well, yeah, you can actually. I'm looking for Robert Fuller. And he looks up the grave number and he went and helped me find it. And like, it was just kind of a weird thing that he just showed up and
happened to be no, that's really cool. That's very, very cool.
So I may not have found it if it wasn't for him. So yeah, it was very neat. But yeah, I don't even know really how to end this. I don't know if the truth will ever be confirmed here, but important thing is we have Bobby Fuller's catalog of music and it was wonderful, and I invite you to check it out, stream it. It's really good stuff.
Yeah, most definitely.
Well, thank you, Ellie. Tell everyone where they can find you.
Y'all can find me on YouTube at Let's F with Astrology. You can find me at my website, www.saturnseason.com, and on Instagram at saturnseasonastrology. And where can they find you?
All right. Brandy Burrow Astrology on YouTube and Instagram, or brandyburrowastrology.com. And if anyone has a loved one or someone you're connected with that died mysteriously or is missing, or you need maybe some more answers to what's going on and would love for us to look at the forensic astrology, get a hold of us. You can find Ellie or me. We'll be happy to look at it and see what we come up with.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this would be like this wouldn't be like for a YouTube video or any, it would, unless you wanted it to be, but no, this would be like a one-on-two kind of thing.
Yeah, you can absolutely have this as a private consultation. And so please find us. All right. Till next time, Ellie. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me. And yes, until next